Viewers, some of the commonly used drugs which can be found in shelves of almost every home have failed the quality test. The country's apex drug regulator, the CDSCO, or the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, has released a list of around 50 drugs which were found to be spurious or not of standard quality. These include commonly used medicines such as paracetamol, pandy, amoxicillin, amongst other drugs. This list is part of a routine testing exercise by the drug regulator, which does random sample checks. These drugs, which are featured in the list, have been manufactured by different companies, some of which were visited by Times Now. Take a look at these ground reports.
Now, one of the drugs that's found a feature in this list of 53-odd drugs that's been put out happens to be something as basic as a paracetamol. Now, this report goes on to talk about how the paracetamol here, IP 500, was manufactured at the Karnataka Antibiotics and Pharmaceutical Limited. Now, remember, this is indeed, in fact, a government enterprise that's run both by the state and the centre, and one of the drugs that was produced over here hasn't met the basic quality standard.
At this Unicorn India Limited, which is in Noida Sector 3, where their plant is situated here, and what the report is saying that this company which manufactures calcium and vitamin D has failed. These companies are certainly expected to approach the central laboratory, which is in Kolkata, which will be the final authority which will decide that whether these medicines are up to the mark or not.
We are inside the Nestor pharmaceutical company. Cefixime is one of the antibiotics. This is a third generation antibiotic that is used for curing bacterial infections like tonsillitis, pharyngitis, bronchitis, otitis and many other diseases. And what actually has been seen that this drug has failed so far as the quality is concerned. We tried to speak to the PRO also. He was not ready to divulge and give any kind of details in this regard.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, let's see this across to our guest now joining us, and we're requesting our viewers to join us. Share with us your concerns, queries, any kind of advice that you'd like to seek from a panel of eminent doctors who are also, of course, in themselves not just concerned with these issues, but will also be able to tell us whether any particular precautions or any suggestions perhaps need to be given on this particular issue. Joining us is Dr. Vivut Pratap Singh, who is the Senior Consultant Interventional Cardiology at the Fortis Escort Heart Institute. Dr. Asim Malhotra is a consultant cardiologist and international best-selling author. He's also done a lot of work in this particular area. Also with us is Dr. Sudhir Kumar, neurologist from the Apollo Hospitals, Hyderabad. Let me start first and foremost with Dr. Vivut Pratap Singh. How seriously would you take this particular report? Is it, for instance, happening for the first time? And are there any particular precautions or concerns that you would advise our viewers to take in light of what has been produced by the CDSCO?
What I will think of this issue to be taken in two aspects. First of all, we should not be panicking so much. And second, there is a reason for concern. The why I'm saying so, this is a routine NSQ test that is done twice monthly by the Central Drug Authority, and the reports are released. These are the sample from the drugs which are not yet shipped to the market. So this is the main the culprit drugs have been found from those batch. Now, why it is a concern for us is because these are some of the top leading brands. What the pharmaceuticals have said that these are spurious drugs. If they are spurious, if they are counter theft, if they are not the original, how they are going to be in the population of 1 billion, that has to be answered. If the legality of this transaction is established that these drugs were from the particular company, the onus has to be decided.
Absolutely.
That is very important question. And the third, we just can't pass the buck that they were manufacturing, it was our brand label, because people buy on the brand label. So if the drug is of inferior quality, the brand should take the onus, but provided the sample was not spurious. And what the reason for concern is, this is a very small sample size for a population of around billion. So if we have got so many other labs at any other places, what the impact will be That is also a major area of concern.
Well, some
so
very,
these
very,
are what my takeaway.
Very, very interesting thoughts that you've put out, sir. A lot of food for thought there. And we will, of course, be visiting each of those issues separately as well. But let's quickly go across to our first viewer joining us. We have OP Kichnu joining us from Jammu. Go ahead, Mr. Kichnu.
So, since we are very much panicked by this news that these drugs are spurious, so we would like that your channel at least should come up with a list of these drugs, medicines, and not by the generic name, so that the people can understand which medicine to take and which not to take.
Well, sir, I have the list with me. I think it's pretty much out in the public domain. And this list, of course, it's a pretty extensive list. I can tell you at the moment that there are about 48 such tablets or at least medications. Some of them, all right, 50 of such medications that are there, and they're all, of course, some of them are very, very commonly used, and that's why perhaps this story has really struck a chord and certain questions that are arising out of it. Let's quickly go across to our next viewer. We have Lalit from Bengaluru. Yes, Lalit.
Yeah, my concern is that most of the poor people buy their medicine from this Pradhan Mantri Yojana. Are there enough steps taken to assure the public that at least these medicines sold through these outlets are genuine and not spurious?
Right.
That's my question. Because the drugs sold through these organizations, and I find that you have put up on the TV, a Karnataka government manufacturing unit has got defects in their medicine.
Well, it doesn't make it any less important if it's a PSU or a private company, but certainly the issue and the concerns remain the same. A very pertinent question, nevertheless. Let's quickly get another question from Murli in Hubballi, and then I'll go across to other panelists. Yes, Murli.
Just Madhavan, very good evening. The problem in our India is totally that nobody checks up regularly. They don't have any drug inspector to check regularly. It is a random survey. I think every company will have such a problem. That's what I meant to say. Random check should be there. And honesty has lost, I believe, in India. They should do it. It's actually life-saving drugs. If they are doing like this, they are playing with this. They are playing with the people of India.
Right. Right.
That's what I am
very valid concern, sir. Let me quickly take this across to Dr. Aseem Malhotra. Dr. Aseem Malhotra, I mean, there's obviously the question of honesty that arises as far as the regulatory system itself is concerned. And the reason I'm asking you this question is that in just earlier this year, CBI arrested 3 officials, including an assistant drugs controller and a drug inspector with the CDSCO of the DGHS, the Director General of Health Services of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, in an alleged bribery case. So is this particular concern a valid one?
Yeah, I think it is actually. So, the editor of JAMA, which is one of the most respected medical journals in the world, said not long ago, don't believe anything that comes from a drug company, not a single thing. You start from there. The former editor of the British Medical Journal, a giant in medical publishing, Fiona Godley, in a documentary film I've just made, which is coming out called First to No Farm, and will be screened in the US Capitol tonight in the Senate. She herself said that basically there is massive conflicts of interest that happen with medical journals taking millions often from pharmaceutical companies. Now, this is an issue in the West. I think what's happened in this particular case in India is it's a symptom of a much bigger problem. The drug industry themselves are pathologically self-interested when it comes to making money. Their legal obligations to make profit for shareholders, not to give you the best treatment. So they do everything and anything they can to get their drugs on the market, to make money, whether it's bribing political or medical bodies or figures, whether it's misrepresenting research results. The main issue is a complete lack of transparency in the system. Now, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. I'm very proud to be a practicing doctor, a cardiologist. I've been a qualified doctor for over 20 years. And there are many drugs that do very great things for people. But the problem now is that they are out of control, and the overall net effect of the mass prescription of drugs on society based upon false information is a negative one now. And it needs greater accountability, greater transparency. It needs strong government. It needs, this is such a huge problem globally and even in India, that this needs to be a primary objective of Prime Minister Modi. He must say this is a big scandal and we need to really get to the bottom of it. I mean, the positive side, I will tell you, which is very interesting in my own journey, and I won't give too many spoilers away because it comes through in my documentary, is one of the other issues that we're not dealing with is this pandemic of chronic disease. We want people to be not taking so many pills for blood pressure or type 2 diabetes. These are conditions we now know are not just preventable, but even reversible with lifestyle. And people and patients and public aren't even getting that information. And a lot of the secrets, interestingly, in that process come from India. You know, ancient Ayurvedic teachings, for example. So India actually can be part of the solution as well as being part of the current problem.
Very, very interesting perspective there, Dr. Malhotra. But let's quickly get in a word from some more of our viewers. Neelam is with us from Bengaluru. Yes, Neelam.
Good evening. It's very scary, this thing about spurious drugs and things. And the thing is that I have had this experience that, for example, I'm a blood pressure patient, okay, and I've been taking olmesartan. Now, if I take it made by one company, okay, it doesn't work at all, not at all. For example, there's something called Olmi, and I forget which company it is, but maybe Eris Life Sciences. But when I take the same medicine and the same dosage by Zydus or some other well-known company, then it seems to work. So I don't know what is going on. It's very scary. And also this, you've got this on your screen about Alzolam. And I do take that on and off. So how does one ascertain that?
Well, that's a concern that in fact was addressed in the first round of questions, because these are the testing samples that have actually been taken. These are not those in the market. So that's actually a bit of clarification that was given earlier by our first doctor, Vibhuti Prapal Singh, who spoke earlier. Let me quickly take in a question. Thanks so much for joining us, ma'am. Dinakar is with us from Mumbai. Yes, Dinakar.
Yeah, good evening. I have a small question to all these panelists. I'm calling from Mumbai. See, whenever we go to a doctor, like for any kind of small illness, whether it's a headache, fever, body pain, or something like that, or a dust allergy, they give a simple prescription handwritten to their assistants to give some tablets. It will have some colors like red, yellow, green, and we don't know what it is like, It doesn't have a brand name, it doesn't have an expiry date, it doesn't have a manufacturing date. But how safe it is? All these things are regulated? I've seen some suppliers coming to the doctor's place, just packed in some polythene bag, tied in, and they just hand it over, but it doesn't have any...
Well, serious concern over there. One more viewer joining us is Ram Avatar from Indrapuram. Yes, Ram Avatar.
Yes, you see, I have a very simple solution for this. Why can't... There are so many companies, they say that they have not manufactured this. Somebody else is making the spurious drugs. So why can't they file a case in the different courts, different police stations to nab, so that the spurious people who make the spurious drugs must be accounted and handed over to the companies? I think
I think the larger question, as you rightly mentioned, is whether the punishment is not harsh enough for those who are playing literally with their lives, or could be playing with the lives of several of our citizens. And let me bring that across to Dr. Sudhir Kumar, neurologist. Dr. Sudhir Kumar, is our legal judicial system not strong enough to ensure that there is stringent punishment if at all this takes place? Because, there were concerns earlier that were expressed about certain cough syrups, the clarification that came in after that. But the concern still remains about whether our regulatory system is strong enough to act against those who may be, working with some kind of ulterior motives or profit-making motives.
Yes, definitely it's a very important question. So the most important thing is to find out what step has gone wrong. So, there are multiple steps which are involved in making a drug. So right from the raw materials, and then making the drug, and then packaging, storing, and then actually it comes to stockist and then the chemist. So definitely, the next step is to find out who is at fault, and that definitely the punishment should be, something exemplary, so that it acts as a deterrent for the future. Because as of now, we have heard that most of the companies have told that it is not manufactured at their factory. It is a spurious drug. So then the question is how it has come to the chemist. So we should investigate that point and then try to reach the root cause and then tackle at that. Because once we don't tackle it, then as other doctors have already pointed out, one is the lack of efficacy itself, and then the risk of adverse effects, because if the amount of medicine is not proper, if it is either less or more, there could be adverse effects also, and then the cost burden on the patients. So there are multiple problems, and only solution is to find the root cause and then punish the guilty.
Very, very important. In fact, Dr. Malhotra, I want to quickly bring you in on one aspect, because we're talking about a situation where there could be life-threatening diseases, cancer, there could be, those, you're a cardiologist, those who have, a past history of heart attacks, etc. There could be, for instance, in this case, pregnant ladies who are taking vitamin supplements or calcium supplements. It could have huge amount of effect on those people who are in these very sensitive conditions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So again, I think the solution is to make sure we strengthen the systems of transparency and accountability in the manufacturing process, and to stop people being at risk. And until there is a understanding of exactly how this has happened, we can't offer meaningful solutions, and therefore we can't restore trust amongst the public. To be honest, the drug companies can't be trusted. They shouldn't be trusted. They are, they have been described by the preeminent expert in forensic psychologist Robert Hare as being psychopathic when it comes to making money. Right. So people need to start from that position. And until the regulators strengthen their systems, and until the government actually takes it very, very seriously, until the Prime Minister Modi said this is a national problem that we need to resolve very, very quickly, the problem isn't going to go away, and it's only going to get worse.
Well, we certainly hope the solutions are there, that regulators and whoever is there to look into this do intervene, because this is really something that we cannot afford. Health is a very, very important issue. Undoubtedly, the least that one expects when one is popping a pill is that the pill is going to have the desired effect. If that's not the case, it's certainly a huge issue, no matter which part of the country you're from, what region, what language what you speak. It's an issue that's going to affect all of us universally as citizens across the country. Dr. Vibhuti Prapat Singh, Dr. Aseem Malhotra, Dr. Sudhir Kumar, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening.